I struggle with the fashion industry. I do know that a lot of clothing is produced in countries where there are poor standards.
I'm just interested to see what the new trends are, if they're going to be featuring any organic green designs, and to see if the industry's changed at all since I formed my opinions.
There's a lot of challenges that the fashion industry has to overcome. I don't think that there's a choice anymore. So the toxic chemicals is just one part of it.
Don't necessarily count somebody out just because they're big and they're international. A lot of big companies are very responsible and have the resources to make innovations and to make groundbreaking developments because they are so big.
This is home where I keep all my great clothes. Come on in.
My name's Lisa North, and I'm actually a furniture designer. I've always loved clothes. Actually, people in high school, the bets were on that I was going to be a fashion designer because I just had a wacky sense of fashion, and I've always loved clothes. I have a coat fetish. This I found at Goodwill. This is a fabulous coat. It's got faux fur. This is, believe it or not, this was a bridesmaid dress. My legs aren't my best feature, but in this dress, they look amazing. I forgot about this. How could I forget? There's the crinoline, and I got that in Kensington Market too. Are you jealous? Yeah. You don't get any nice clothes. I struggle with the fashion industry because I love fashion. I love clothing. I think it's a fantastic way to express yourself creatively as a person, as an individual. But unfortunately, we live in the society we live in that it's capitalist, and the fashion industry has to make money, and they have to do what they have to do to sell clothing. I think that fashion magazines perpetuate certain images of women and girls that aren't healthy, and I saw a lot of destruction when I was younger. I saw a lot of people suffer from eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, and I see how the media can influence us in thinking about how we look. I do know that a lot of clothing is produced in countries where there are poor standards, employment standards, environmental standards, standards in terms of what products they're using and what materials they're using, and so on. But again, it's not something I'm very educated, or I haven't educated myself about that much other than what I hear in the media. It does make me dislike the industry a little bit more when I think about those things. Boy, isn't that funny? I love to dress, I love clothes, but I don't like the industry? I never thought about that before. I have had a moment where I became aware of my part of the problem in terms of overconsumption, although it wasn't necessarily in fashion, it was in my business. I was practicing interior design, and it was all about having, everybody having what the Joneses had. I felt like I was promoting the notion that you had to have certain things to be okay as a human being. I had a big moment, a long moment on that. I felt quite badly that I was part of that problem. I think organic is used as a marketing term. I'm a little skeptical when I hear it. It's not something, surprisingly, that I pay that much attention to when I'm shopping, although probably more for food than, for example, fashion. What I know about organics and fashion is very little, quite frankly. I'm here to be educated. I don't have an opinion about whether organics will help play a role in the environment, other than it would seem logically that it would. I hope to learn a little bit more about that by participating in this show.
It takes 7 full bathtubs or 357 gallons of water to produce one t-shirt, one cotton t-shirt. So you can actually tell what color is going to be the next big trend based on the color of the rivers in China.
Tonight we're at the TFI, Toronto Fashion Incubator Fashion Show. I'm really open-minded about tonight. I'm just interested to see what the new trends are, if they're going to be featuring any organic green designs, and to see if the industry's changed at all since I formed my opinions that I was sharing with you before. Well, I loved fashion design in high school. Everybody thought I was going to be a fashion designer, and I participated in and created my own line of clothing for a fashion show. I think it was in the 80s, so I wouldn't want you to see any pictures of it, although I think a lot of that stuff is coming back in style now, so you know how old I am.
Hey, nice to see you. Yeah. These are the guys from Organic Panic. They're gonna come up and join the party.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
Come on in.
Hi, my name is Kelly Drennan, and I'm the founding executive director of Fashion Takes Action. This is one of our members, Annie Thompson, who is a Toronto-based designer, and she's been designing for about 30 some odd years now. And Annie has always produced locally, so she's a great example of a local designer, and she's recently been working with some organic fabrics as well as upcycling, so she's slowly incorporating more environmental practices into her business model. There's 5 sort of big areas I feel like the conventional fashion industry is facing. So water is one of them, the use of water. So for example, it takes 7 full bathtubs or 357 gallons of water to produce 1 t-shirt. 1 cotton t-shirt. So the amount of water that's being used, but also the pollution of water is a big problem from the dyes, the toxic chemicals that come from dyes, as well as from just processing fabric, as well as what we treat our fabric with when we're finished. So formaldehyde, flame retardants, that kind of thing, and it all just gets put out and dumped out into the waterway. So for example, you can actually tell what color is going to be the next big trend based on the color of the rivers in China. We take a very holistic approach to how we define sustainability. So it could mean that you're using organic fabrics, and even that, what does that mean? Well, it means, for example, with cotton, conventional cotton is grown with heavy amounts of pesticides and insecticides and fertilizers, whereas organic cotton is grown without any of those toxic chemicals. One of the things that we try and do, our organization, is try and educate consumers about slowing down our consumption.
So the toxic chemicals is just one part of it. There's a lot of challenges that the fashion industry has to overcome. I don't think that there's a choice anymore.
Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Lisa.
How are
Nice
you?
to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, well, let's go on in and see
Okay,
what
cool.
they
You
have.
first. The pro first. The shopper second.
So this is a great store because it's a great example of all the different ways that you can be sustainable. So not just locally made or using organics or upcycled materials. There's everything
They
is
do
available
everything.
here.
Awesome. I'm so excited to see what they have. I've actually never been to a shop like this ever.
I had been doing fashion and lifestyle public relations for a number of years and worked with a number of designers who were producing big shows, particularly at Fashion Week. And I was getting really sickened by what I was seeing, the excess and the waste. Even just backstage with the hairspray and and the flat irons and the blow dryers and all this work and energy that goes into a fashion show. And the hungry consumers and the media who are just sitting there hungry to see the next big, and I just felt really saddened and like I needed to do something for my children.
Polyester is sort of like the plastic of fashion because it's made from petrochemicals like oil, petroleum. So so that's a bad fabric. Like if anything you're gonna learn is how to read the labels in your clothes.
Just like I do in food.
Exactly.
As consumers, I think we're a little bit more likely to read our food labels, maybe even some of us are reading our personal care products and beauty labels, ingredients and things like that. But fashion is still one of those things that I think people are not as familiar with, the labels. And by law, every garment has to have the fabrication. And if someone's claiming organic, you can easily read the label and it'll say what percentage of organic as well. Organic clothes are, particularly cotton is the fabric that you see most when you speak of organics, but it means that it was grown without the use of pesticides or insecticides. It also, you can see organics in wool and linen, but generally speaking, it's mostly referred to cotton because conventional cotton requires such an enormous amount of highly toxic carcinogenic substances. So, and basically to fight the pests, right? So that you get a higher yield, but at the cost of the farmers' lives and the environment. I mean, there's farms in Asia or India where there's farmers who are spraying these chemicals, and they're not wearing any protection. There's also the cotton pickers themselves, typically are women. So it's usually the men that are spraying the pesticides, and then it's the women who pick the cotton. A lot of the time they're mothers, and they have new babies and infants strapped to them while they're picking this cotton. So they're picking it, and they're not wearing any protection, no gloves. So they're picking a plant for 12 hours a day that's just been grown with pesticides and insecticides.
Hemp is a very versatile fabric and extremely eco, and we actually can grow it here. And
It's an easy grow, isn't it? Like the
Yes.
crops, is it easier to produce into clothing than, let's say, something like organic cotton would be, or no?
Well, it's more about the location. We can't grow
Okay.
cotton here,
Okay,
right? So
okay.
we rely on.
So it's more local to
other-
buy hemp.
Exactly.
There's a number of certification schemes for organics, particularly in fashion. You see GOTS is one of them, and that stands for the Global Organic Textile Standard, and EcoCert is another one. So those are probably the two most commonly used certification schemes. Now, the end piece of clothing could be a blend of organic and non-organic. Okay, so that in that case you have that's a sort of a gray area. But you can't make a fabric halfway organic. You can't just use a little bit of pesticides or insecticides because then it's not considered organic. There's a lot of challenges that the fashion industry has to overcome. I don't think that there's a choice anymore. So the toxic chemicals is just one part of it. Actually, the textile industry, so this isn't just fashion, but it includes all textiles, pollutes 5,640,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools of fresh water every year. It's astounding. Waste is another big one. So the industry is, you walk into a store, some of those big box stores where it's just wall-to-wall clothing, racks upon racks, shelves upon shelves of clothing, and they're not selling every single piece of clothing that's in that store. So what happens to those clothes? After they've actually been put on the sale rack or after they've been sent to their discount outlet partner, what happens to those clothes? They get shredded and they get thrown into landfill because it's cheaper than recycling them. Nobody has time anymore. So fast fashion, like fast food, is convenient. It's all about convenience. But similar to fast food, it's not good for you. It's not good for anyone. The people who make our clothes, who make fast fashion, of course, are not being paid fair wages for the most part. They're not working in safe conditions either. I mean, look at what happened last year in Bangladesh. They ran a Plaza factory. And that wasn't the first time. There's been several fires in factories. So it's who can produce our clothes the fastest and the cheapest. And unfortunately right now, it's a country like Bangladesh. The pressure that these brands are putting on their factories to produce in these super tight timelines, that's actually hurting these garment workers because they're working 18, 20-hour days. Just because you are certified organic cotton, it doesn't mean that you're fair trade. So as consumers, you need to still ask those questions.
All the cotton that we use will come from more sustainable resources. So that means organic cotton, Better Cotton Initiative cotton, different types of cotton that's being made more sustainably. Don't necessarily count somebody out just because they're big and they're international.
Hi, Emily. I'm Lisa.
Hi, nice to meet you.
You too.
Thanks for coming.
I'm so excited to be here. I can't wait to see. I think you're going to show me some of your organic fashion.
I am, definitely. If you come this
Cool.
way, I'll show you our upcoming Conscious Denim collection.
Conscious denim.
Yes.
What is conscious denim?
So it's a capsule collection that's coming out in October, and it's a variety of denim pieces. Some of them are made from organic cotton. Some of them are made from recycled materials.
Recycled?
From our Close the Loop
Oh.
program. Some of them are made from recycled wool, like this jacket.
This is denim?
This is wool. This is recycled
sorry.
wool.
But, okay.
Yeah.
This is gorgeous. Very nice.
So it's a variety
Wow.
of products, all in blue, and it'll be available in the ladies and men's department.
Can I look?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're one of the largest suppliers of organic cotton?
One of the largest users of organic
Users, pardon
cotton.
me. Yes, users.
Yes.
So when you sell a product, like a shirt that's made from organic cotton, is it 100%?
Some items are 100% organic cotton,
Mm-hmm.
and some are 50% organic cotton and 50% conventional cotton. So you
Okay.
can either purchase something that's 100% or
So
purchase
there's
something
that
that's
option.
blended.
Do you see yourself going more toward 100% cotton in the future?
Yes, our goal is that by 2020, 100% of all the cotton that we use will come from more sustainable resources. So that means organic cotton, Better Cotton Initiative cotton, different types of cotton that's being made more sustainably.
Excellent. That's good to hear. I know it must be quite a large process for an organization to actually change the way they manufacture.
In 2012, it was 11.4% of the cotton that we use was from more sustainable cotton sources. In 2013, it was 15.8%. So every
That's
year
a good
we're
jump.
increasing the percentage. So by 2020, it will be at 100%.
Very nice.
Yes. And then we also have the Conscious Collection that comes out once a year in April, and that entire collection is made of more sustainable materials. The Better Cotton Initiative is a program that works with farmers about teaching them how to farm in a more sustainable way, so using less pesticides and things like that so that the actual cotton cultivation process is more sustainable.
So I've never heard the term close the loop before. Can you do a quick definition? What
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
means?
So if you think about the life cycle of a garment as a loop, so let's talk about cotton. It starts off from somebody actually, picking cotton in the field, and then it goes into production. It's made into a textile, cotton in a roll. That roll gets sent to a factory, then it gets made into a garment.
Yep.
The garment comes to the store, the customer
wear
buys
it.
it. The customer's done wearing it. They return it to H&M to the garment collecting program. We take that cotton garment, we break it down, and then we turn it into a new garment, closing the loop.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not going into landfill.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
There's different places that you can bring your clothing. H&M is just one option, one we really encourage because we have 67 stores coast to coast in the
you've
country.
got the resources,
Exactly,
too.
and we have high traffic. We know people are coming to the stores to shop, so why not bring the clothes with you when you're coming in to shop? I mean, I think it's a really important program, and last year alone, we collected 200,000 pounds of clothing in Canada.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible when you just think about that. In 1 year, 200,000 pounds
Very
of clothing saved from going into the landfill.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And being put back into, I love vintage shopping. So
Yeah.
I've actually bought H&M clothes from Value Village before.
Yeah, so one of our biggest programs that we have right now that's about recycling is actually the Garment Recycling Initiative. And the aim of the program is that we will take back any clothing from any brand in any condition at any H&M all over the world, and you bring in a bag of your unwanted garments, you drop it off at the cash point, and you get a coupon to use towards your next purchase. Fashion is a question of preference and style, but I would say, don't necessarily count somebody out just because they're big and they're international. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not doing things in an ethical way and in a responsible way. A lot of big companies are very responsible and have the resources to make innovations and to make groundbreaking developments because they are so big. So do your research. If you're really into looking for a more sustainable company, more sustainable fashion, see what's out there, see what's available, and don't just count the big guys out.
When you educate yourself a little bit, like I've done in this process, you're more aware and able to discern what is greenwashing and what isn't. So, now I can look at labels and really see what's involved in what I'm buying, which interests me because I do it for food, so why shouldn't I do it for fashion? I actually was more impressed with H&M than I thought I would be. I was very impressed with Emily. I was equally as impressed with Kelly. I just learned so much, and it was such a pleasure to learn. I thought I would have some negative things to say, but I got to be honest with you, I actually don't. I think I see it that we should try to do a little bit as much as we can, and I think that the larger companies like H&M that are making actually such large initiatives part of their policy is commendable. I loved the H&M recycling program. I thought that was really interesting. I might bring my clothes to them instead of Value Village to support what they're doing. If somebody asked me what I got out of this experience, I would highly suggest that they educate themselves a little bit more. Maybe watch a documentary on clothing, like this, for example, that teaches you about the different issues that pertain to the production of clothing. The most surprising thing I learned from Kelly was about cotton. I didn't know how bad it was for the environment. So, I think sometimes I would consider maybe even not buying cotton, like buying more sustainable crops. That's the other thing, because cotton is so bad for the environment in terms of the water it uses and how, how the workers are treated and so on. I think for me, that was the most surprising fact that I didn't know that before. I assumed and this is what she said, I assumed cotton, it grows in the ground, it's gotta be nice, but no. It's the processing of the cotton to make it into clothes that actually causes the problem. I would like to try and buy 100% organic cotton if I can afford it. I'll continue to shop the way I shop because I do a lot of vintage purchasing and secondhand purchasing. But when I buy new, I definitely want to pay attention to where the clothes are coming from and what they're made of.